Hey folks, Lenny Lawson, the car guru, and in a little shock, in a state of shock, gotta admit it, got my insurance quote for the year. Not happy about it. $76,000. Well, I guess I should be a little happy. It's like $14,000 less than last year, which was $90,000. So, have you checked your car insurance lately and your homeowner's insurance? Or they send you a bill and you just pay it? Or do you look to see what's on it? You know, last year I was in a little bit of a rush and I did not read in detail how they got my rate down. That was getting it down to $90,000 before. And I saw this little thing later on. Well, let me tell you how it happened. So we had this incident. One of our technicians, and he's a good one, a real good one. So this is, we've never had an incident, and we were shocked that this happened. But he left the hood unlatched on a Ford Explorer, and he was going on the test drive, and surprise, surprise, the hood smacked into the windshield and damaged the customer's vehicle. So we have something called Garage Keepers Insurance, and it's supposed to cover that, but it didn't. It fell under our comprehensive insurance, where I discovered that, unbeknownst to me, the insurance cost, or the insurance deductible, was increased from $1,000 to $10,000. The estimate was $14,000 to fix the car. So we had to pay $10,000 of that. And I called my agent and I said, "Who approved a $10,000 deductible?" You did. You signed it. But I didn't read it. I didn't know what I was signing. Doesn't that sound like somebody goes into the finance office when they're buying a car, signs up for everything, then they get home several months later, they said, "Why is our payment so high?" And then they go back to the dealership and they said, "Well, you bought an extended warranty, you bought gap insurance." "I didn't buy all that." "Yes, you did. You signed for it." "Yeah, but I didn't read it." Well, that's what happens. Read the contract. Read the insurance policy. So this year we had some competition in the insurance game. They came in and quoted our insurance for us. And it's still shocking. I mean, that's for my Ford dealership, my Nissan dealership. It does not cover inventory that is floor planned, that is financed by Ford or by Nissan Credit. It covers everything else: used cars, the building. It covers employee theft. I haven't had that in a long time. I have had it, though. I've discovered a office person that stole $16,000 from us, and we caught it about 6 months after the fact. Prosecuted her. Employee theft deductible is $1,000. Forgery, computer fraud, funds transfer fraud, money orders, and counterfeit currency. We have had no coverage on our previous policy. At least on this quote, we've got some coverage. Let's see what else is on here. Auto liability, general liability. We've got a huge umbrella, but that is a liability policy that kind of sits above our regular liability for a catastrophic thing. Like if somebody was badly injured or killed, for that matter, and somebody decided to sue you, you would have protection up to the limit of your umbrella policy. Also, we have insurance coverage for errors and omissions. Truth in lending, odometer error. Let's say we sell a car to somebody, and somehow, months or years after, the customer discovers something that stated that the mileage was not accurate. Well, they could come back to us and sue us or whatever, so we have coverage for that. Of course, we do everything we can to verify the mileage, the fact that a vehicle doesn't have salvage history. I mean, these are things that we have to do before we ever put a vehicle out there for sale. We don't want to put a vehicle out there on our lot that has been considered a lemon. because, it may be traded into us and we don't know it was a lemon. What customer is going to drive into the dealership and say, yeah, I want to trade this car and I want that new Nissan Rogue. Oh, and by the way, my car's a lemon. That's not going to happen. It's not that, they don't think they should tell us, but they don't have to because we're a car dealer. It's okay to lie to a car dealer because most people think that the car dealer is going to lie to them, and many do and have. So we have all of this protection. One of the biggest protections, like I said, is called Garage Keepers. When you turn a vehicle over to us, give us the keys, it's yours, and we damage it. It falls off of the lift. Has this ever happened, Lenny? Yes, it has. Way back in let's see, what year was that? When did the Chevy Citation come out? I think it was 1981. We had a customer, brought his Chevy Citation in. This was our first real experience at front-wheel drive cars with General Motors. And boy, was it a winner. Not. But it was a V6. Customer brought it in for the first oil change. My oil change guy put it up on the lift like he would a rear-wheel drive car. Bad move, because front-wheel drive cars have approximately 60 to 70% of the weight over the front tires, because that's where the engine is, the transmission, all the running gear is in the front of the vehicle, making the rear end rather light. Well, he didn't adjust it on the lift the right way. So he was changing the oil, took the filter off, drained the oil and all that stuff. He was at his toolbox, which is right in front of the Chevy Citation, the front grille. He pivoted to the left to go around to the side of the vehicle. Just as he pivoted, the vehicle slid off the rack into his toolbox. If he had been standing there, he would not be with us today. He still is. Good guy, Larry. Larry would not have survived that, I don't think, because that car would have crushed him. Pinned him into his toolbox in the tool bench. It's a front-wheel drive car. You don't put it on a lift that way. Who pays for that? Garage Keepers Insurance. So the reason I'm talking about this is, because I try to stay just right up to date with what's going on in my life and in my business. And when I'm getting an insurance quote, it is very important to read it and understand what it covers and what it doesn't. Same thing for you with your homeowner's insurance. Do you have enough liability coverage? Somebody falls in your yard and breaks something, or drops dead in your yard for some reason or another, and they end up suing you and blaming you. Do you have adequate liability insurance for that? See, I have an umbrella policy for home because, I'm sue-worthy. Anybody is, but if you have a lot of assets, people say, wait a minute, they see dollar signs, and you need liability protection. You also need to make sure you have enough liability protection on your vehicle. Because of the litigious society that we live in, people will sue you for all kinds of things. You may not be criminally liable for a terrible accident that was your fault, but they may not say that, it was murder or something like that. But you are civilly liable, and, the jury will determine that. And so it just has to be a preponderance of the evidence. It does not have to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That's for criminal. So if they convince some jury that it was your fault and you only have $100,000 worth of liability insurance, then they're suing you for $1.2 million. You might want to think about that. I'll be back in just 1 minute. Some people say that insurance is a necessary evil. I think it's not evil in all cases unless it's sold under false pretenses. like a lot of policies maybe are, especially in car dealerships. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Life insurance, I think that is such a difficult topic. I don't know how agents help people decide how much life insurance to buy. When my son passed away, he had a pretty good sized life insurance policy, and I'm glad he did, because it will help his son, when he reaches the appropriate age. I'm in control of that. But I have to have a lot of insurance just to cover my business. I'm the key guy, and if something happens to me, they got to be able to figure things out. And so I want to give them enough cushion to be able to figure things out, but not, support them for the rest of their days. They need to work for that. So that's a tough one. But there are other types of insurance that are more straightforward, like, for example, for your house, and what would it take to rebuild your house or replace your house? One of the things people need to be aware of is coinsurance. And coinsurance is where the insurance company mitigates their risk by having you as the insured step up in certain scenarios. And a lot of people don't realize that. Your house burns down, you've got $1 million worth of insurance on your house, but it's at 80% coinsurance, which means that when it hits $1 million, if it's anything more over that, you got to pay 20% of every dollar that it costs to make you whole. And is your policy that way? I don't know. A lot of that terminology, when we're reading it, we don't comprehend it. We don't understand what it's saying. And I think it's important to step back. Sometimes what I do is, and I know a lot of people don't like this, but I just take a picture of it, download it to ChatGPT, and I said, please explain this to me. And I do that a lot. And I think that people who have a smartphone or a computer and they say, I'm not going to use AI, fine if you don't want to, but I'm telling you, you're missing out on access to really good information. A lot of people Google stuff, and you are using AI to a certain extent when you Google something. I mean, the first response that comes up is AI generated. So you're using it if you're using Google. But a lot of people use what is it called, Grok and Claude, and there's all kinds of weird names out there for AI tools, and I don't know how they're all related. I use ChatGPT, and I subscribe to it. I pay $19.95 a month for the full version, and I use it every single day. So, that being said, there are insurance policies that are being sold to you when you buy a new car. Well, if you buy them. One of those is a service contract, which is a lot of people call them extended warranties, but it is a promise to pay. It is typically backed by insurance or by one of the automakers like Ford or Toyota or Honda or whatever. They have it reinsured to protect them overall. And if something happens to a company that issues a warranty policy like this, an extended warranty, then most of those are backed by an insurance company. I would want to know who's backing my warranty policy. Is it the manufacturer? Is it a Ford policy? Is it, backed by a company like Assurant, which is a very solid, great company? They're independent, but they have a very affordable warranty product or extended warranty product. But I want to know who's backing it. If it's dealer-backed, what happens if that dealer goes out of business? Do you have a warranty if they're gone? Maybe not. So the other side of that coin, it's the opposite side of the coin, is what's covered and what's not. Just make sure that when you are pricing an extended service contract / extended warranty, that you understand what's covered. Now, a lot of them tell you what's covered. Don't buy that policy. Buy the one that tells you what's not covered. A lot easier to tell because you don't know what all the different components are on a vehicle. You can't name them all. Heck, I can't even name what's in my closet. So how am I going to know every single component of an automobile? I'll miss something. So the policy I'm interested in is called an exclusionary policy. Excludes these things. It does not cover filters. It does not cover brake pads, tires, any maintenance items. It does not cover soft trim inside the vehicle. It does not cover exterior trim or paint surfaces, things like that. So it lists all of those things, but I know by reading that everything else on the vehicle is covered. So if I go into a dealership and they say that my air conditioning has failed, I know that I have a $100 deductible, regardless of what it costs to fix the air conditioning, and then I'm good to go. Now, if I break down on the highway and I don't have a Ford dealer anywhere that I can find, I'm driving a Ford. I have Ford ESP. Or I can't find a Toyota dealer. I have a Toyota extended warranty plan. I can't find one. What do? Well, I have to go to this little gas station here. You know, it's in Florida. They've got an alligator for a sign. You know, we eat high prices. I don't know. You know, they've got some kind of a slogan. But they're not an approved Ford or Toyota repair facility. Can you still get coverage there? If they can fix your vehicle, you'll have an 800 number that you can call and say, pay these people. You know, they're doing this to my car, replacing this or that, or, you know, something's defective. There's an auto parts store that's open and they can find a replacement part and there's no Ford dealer or Toyota dealer near you. They will authorize that and they will give them a Visa card or some type of a credit card number, which they can process right there and it will go through. In some cases, though, you may have to charge it on your credit card and get reimbursed for it. That's not a disaster. You just have to know what you have. And I know I forget the coverages and things that I have. I didn't know I had a $10,000 deductible on a claim like I had. I should have read it, but even if I'd read it 6 months ago, I'm not sure I would have remembered it. So occasionally, it's good to get those files out and just review them. And if you have an extended service contract / extended warranty, keep a copy of it in your glove box with your other important papers. And then if you have a problem, you've got it right there. You know what's covered. You know what the 800 number is. This is what we teach our children to do, our new drivers, along with the owner's manual. You know, we want to know things like how to change a tire, how to jump start the vehicle, you know, how to check the oil. What do I do in these simple things? How do I keep what air pressures are required for my vehicle? Where do you look at that? I tell you, one of the things you can do is get the My Car Guru guidebook for buying and selling and trading and servicing cars, and then get the Teen Driver Experience book that I produced, and I'll send that to you, and that will help. That will show you how to jump start a car, how to check vital fluids in the vehicle, and how to handle a lot of different emergency situations. You can get either of those books. They're not hardcover, by the way. You can get either of those books by just texting me your email address to 423-552-2020. 423-552-2020. Say, I want both of those publications, and I'll email them to you. And then you'll be ready to handle a lot of situations. And I would recommend that if you know of young drivers, live with young drivers, people that just got their license, just sit down with them and go through it. Print out a copy for them. Sit down and go through it and just ask them, do you know how to handle a situation like if you were to get pulled over by the police? Do you know what they want to see? Do you know how you need to behave with them? You know, you see all these nightmarish scenarios that happen on YouTube and TikTok and stuff. You don't want that to happen. That's not how you behave. If you behave right, you might not get a ticket at all. The police officers are humans, and they like to be treated that way. I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, I am back. I just did a 60-second radio commercial for my Ford store and my Nissan store, talking about how important it is to check dealer ratings before you decide to go buy a car there. I mean, I think that's a good preliminary thing to do. So if you are, let's say you live in Kingsport and you want to see how the Ford dealer is treating their customers. Check out their Google page. Check out their Carfax reports. See what their ratings are. Now, to be fair, there are customers out there that cannot be pleased. And even if you do an outstanding job, they'll give you 3 stars. They don't give anybody 5 stars. But what you have to look out for are the ones, the nightmarish kind of stories. Sort by worst ratings first, and you'll see. You'll see some things. You'll hear some things. You'll say, oh, that's appalling. Well, it happened. And usually those are the longest comments. And they'll tell you how it started, what happened in the dealership, what the dealership tried to do, how they didn't solve the problem. You can tell if somebody's just being a jerk and if somebody's just really trying to help their fellow man. Stay away from these people. And sometimes you need to listen to that. And then check prices. Go visit them. If they have good ratings and you feel comfortable, then more than likely when you pull into that dealership, there won't be any bad surprises. However, if you have the My Car Guru guidebook and you have it in your hand and they start talking about payment as soon as you get out of the car, then it doesn't mean they're a terrible dealership. It just means that watch out, because they're trying to close you on a monthly payment and you will have no idea what you're paying for the car. Listen up, young people. I understand you have so much per month that you can afford, but that's not how you buy a car. You understand what you're paying for the car. You hit the 4 targets that I talk about in the My Car Guru guidebook, and then you'll get a good deal on a car. There's no way you can avoid it. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru. If you need me, 423-552-2020 or LennyLawson2020 @gmail.com. And I'll see you next time.